Okay, I think we're good to go now. So, today we're going to start standing for a change. So most of the first half, which is the young part of the session, will be done standing, and then we'll come down to the mat for the yin slower style. So just having your feet comfortably apart, maybe closing your eyes here. Just feeling this connection of the feet connecting down to your mat, the floor beneath you, and the earth beneath that. Visualizing crown of a head reaching upwards towards the ceiling, up to the roof, sky above. Just this sense of energy flowing through the body, connecting to earth below, sky above. And then turning the palms to face out. We're going to inhale and reach the arms up. And then interlink the fingers, and as you exhale, bringing the hands to chest height, pushing the arms out, and then releasing. Inhaling, stretching up. Exhale down. Inhale, press out. And exhale, release. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, as the fingers press down. Inhale, stretch out. And then open out. A couple more times. Inhale. Exhale down. Inhale, pushing out. And exhale, release. Once more like that. And then just resting the hands alongside. And then just a little bit of a sway from side to side. Just get the body moving. And then start to bring in the arms, just letting it flow naturally. Maybe taking it up a little bit higher each time. Feeling that energy flowing through your system. Doesn't have to be in time with me, just kind of going with your own body. A couple more times. And then coming back into the center. And then hands onto your hips. We're going to circle around, so softening through the knees, moving through the hips. And then coming back and round the other way. Good. Coming back into the center. And then coming a little bit side to side. So we're going to inhale up on the right side. And then exhale and release down. And then inhale on the left side. And exhale down. Just keep going with that movement side to side. Your body opening up on each side. A couple more times. And then releasing back to the center. And then a little bit of forward and back movement. So inhale, reach the arms up. And then as you exhale, open behind and just open out through the shoulders. And inhale, coming back upright. And then open out and release back. And inhale up. And exhale, release back. And then a couple more like that, just in time with your breath. Back up to the center. Good. And then hands onto the hips. Inhale and lift up the chest, and then just hinge hinging from the hips, coming into a forward fold. So inhaling up and exhaling, folding forwards, maybe keeping a little bend in the knees to protect your lower back, just taking this little bit of movement, loosening up through the spine. A couple more times. Come back into the center and release. Okay. And I'm just getting the neck nicely activated. So we're going to inhale over to the right and then just releasing around all the way. Moving with the breath, exhaling forwards, inhaling to the back, a couple more times like that. Finishing when the chin comes back to the chest. Lifting the head up to the center. Okay, over to the other side. And then just slowly releasing around. Any tension come out of the neck. Couple more rounds. And again, finishing when you come back down to the chest and coming up to the center. Okay, and then a little bit of a twisting movement. So just taking your arms out wide. We're just going to twist it around. Loosening up through the spine, maybe taking it a little bit further back if that feels okay for your back. So just take care here. Especially if you've got issues with the back. Couple more times. And then coming back into the center. Okay, good. That's hopefully all nice and loosened up. Maybe just give yourselves a little bit of shake out. We're just being a bit more free flowing today. Okay, and I'm going to come to the moon salutations. So I'm going to have to mirror you. So you come over to the left side of your mat. Is that correct? Just raise your left hand up for me. Yes, okay. So bring your hands into your heart center. Inhale and reach the arms up. And dropping the right hand down, exhale towards the center of the mat. And then inhale, coming up to the center again. And then out to the other side. And then inhale and stretch up. Now stepping the right leg out, bending your knees, coming into this high squat, keeping the pelvis tucked under. And then straightening up through the legs, stretch out through the fingertips. And we're going to turn the left foot slightly in and the right foot parallel to your mat. And a little hinge to the right, and then coming into a triangle pose. So hand to the inside of the calf or the knee, reaching up through the fingertips, maybe turning the gaze up to the thumb. Nice steady breath here. And as you exhale, turning the head back to the foot, inhale, arms up to parallel. Okay, now rotate the hips so you're facing towards the side of the mat and just adjusting the back foot around so the hips face the small edge of the mat. Inhale and lift up through the chest and then hinging forwards, coming into pyramid pose. And then bending the right knee, and release the hands down to the floor and just adjust the back foot around so you're into a high lunge position. Pushing back through the left heel. And then turning towards your left, you're going to walk the fingers around to the front of the mat. Not sure if that's your left or your right, actually, I'm confused with the directions, but facing now towards me into a low squat. And then walk the hands all the way around to the other side of the mat. So now you're facing the opposite direction with your left foot forwards and your right, pushing back through the right heel in that lunge position. So dropping the right heel down, I'm going to straighten up, coming up through a pyramid, and then opening the back foot out slightly so you can bring yourself up into a triangle pose on this side. Make a couple of breaths here. And then as you exhale, look back down towards the big toe. Inhale, reaching the arms up to parallel, turning the feet to face forwards, hands coming into the heart center. And then preparing to push off with the left foot, stepping the feet together, reaching up towards the ceiling. Drop the left hand down, exhale into the center, and inhaling up, and then out to the other side, and inhaling up. And then bring the hands back into the heart center. And then step the feet apart, coming into standing relaxed pose. Perhaps softening the eyelids. Feeling that energy flowing through your whole system. Flow of movement. And then we're going to do the same, going back the other way. So coming over now to the right side of your mat. Hands into the heart center. And inhaling and stretching. Drop the left hand, exhale towards the center of the mat. Inhale and reach up. And then out to the outside of the mat. And inhales coming up. Okay, step the left foot out. Bending through the knees, hands into the heart center. Breathing here, feeling strength through the thighs. And then straightening up the legs, reaching the arms out, parallel, and then turning the right foot slightly in and the left foot coming parallel to the mat as we prepare to come into a triangle, hinging the body first, and then dropping the left hand, reaching up through the right fingertips. Maybe gazing up to the thumb. As you exhale, looking back down to the big toe, inhale, arms come up to parallel, and then rotate the hips around, adjusting the back foot, hands come onto the hips. Inhale, lift up through the chest, and then hinging forwards into a pyramid pose, gazing down towards the big toe. And then bending the left knee, drop the hands down either side of the foot and adjust the back foot in line with the edge of the mat, pushing back through your right heel. And then turning towards the center as you come into a midway squat, low squat, and then over to the other side into a lunge, pushing back through the left heel. And dropping the heel down, coming up through pyramid, gazing down towards the big toe, and then opening it up through the hips. Maybe adjust that back foot to open out a little bit wider, reaching up through the left fingertips. Steady breathing here. And then exhale, looking back down to the big toe. Inhale, arms up to parallel. And then turning the feet to face forwards, bending both knees, coming into this high squat position. A couple of breaths. I'm going to push off from the right foot, stepping the feet together, reaching up to the ceiling, and then dropping the left hand down. Exhale to the center. Sorry, that might be your other hand, but it doesn't matter too much. Inhale, coming up, and then outside. And inhale back up. And then hands back into the heart center. And again, just release the feet apart. And this time taking the other hand around the wrist, letting your eyes close. And just noticing this sensation of uplifting your energy levels through that flow of movement. And coming back into the center of the mat. I'm going to come to balancing poses. So just feeling yourself nice and steady here in a mountain pose. So this is also a balance. We're balancing on both feet. Nice and steady, connected down into the earth. Feeling as if the crown of the head is being drawn upwards towards the ceiling. Feeling the muscles in the legs activated. And then just stepping feet apart, coming to relaxed standing. And then coming back into mountain again, ready for a tree pose. So taking your weight onto your right foot, lifting the knee out to the side, left knee out to the side, and then either taking the foot alongside the calf, or maybe lifting it up into the thigh. Focus your gaze on a steady point, hands coming into the heart center. And when you're feeling nice and stable, perhaps reaching up with the arms. And interlinking the fingers, stretch up towards the ceiling, opening it out to the side. And then just bring the knee back to the center and release down. And have a little shake out of that standing leg. Coming back into tree, into mountain rather, ready for our tree on the other side. Getting that stable base and then shifting the weight to the left foot, opening the right knee out. Again, choose below the knee or up above the knee for your foot position, making sure the sole of the foot's pressing against the thigh or the calf, and the calf pressing back against the sole of the foot will help to maintain that balance. Steadiness. And then maybe reaching the arms up, interlinking the fingers, reaching up to the ceiling, open out to the side, and then releasing that down, and just coming into relaxed standing. Okay, and back into mountain pose, taking a back bend here. So hands coming into the small of the back, fingers pointing down. Inhale, lift up through the chest. Exhale, pushing forwards with the hips. And then just gently lifting the gaze upwards towards the ceiling. Steady breathing here. And then inhale again as you come back up. Exhale and releasing. Hands down. And then taking the feet about hip distance apart, ready for a forward fold. The hands coming onto the hips. Inhale, lift up through the chest, and then hinging forwards. Coming about halfway down, and then just letting the hands slide down the legs, either to the knees or the calves, the shins rather, or the ankles, or perhaps if they reach all the way down to the floor, you might want to lift the toes up and place the backs of the hands onto the floor so that the toes are pressing down onto the heels of the hands. Keeping the neck soft, gazing back through the legs. Breathing here for a couple more breaths. And then releasing the hands. Keeping a bend in the knees, slowly unfurl as you come back up into standing. Have a little bit of a shake at that. Okay, so taking the feet out wide again, and I'm going to turn the right foot out and the left foot in, and then reaching out with the arms, going to come into a warrior two, so bending the right knee, taking the gaze down the middle finger. Checking the knees over the ankle. Have a quick glance down, you should just see the big toe poking out, feeling yourself being pulled from fingertip to fingertip. And as you exhale, releasing the arms down, keeping that bend in the knee, bring the elbow onto the knee, and then swing through and up with the left arm, so aiming for a nice straight line. See if you can take the hips a little bit further to the edge. Steady breath. And then inhale, reaching up and over. We're going to turn the feet out to the other direction, keeping the hips along in line with the long edge of the mat, reaching out with the arms, stretching out fingertip to fingertip, and then bending through the left knee. And again, just a quick check that the knee's over the ankle, feeling the fingertips being pulled in opposite directions. Maybe gazing towards the left fingers, finding that focus in the pose, connecting with the breath. And then as you exhale, floating the arms down, and then releasing the elbow towards the knee, and then swing through and up with the right arm as you come into the extended side angle. So we're aiming to get the thigh parallel to the floor here. Steady breathing. And then inhale as you reach the arm up and over. And then just turning the feet back to parallel. And then take the hands behind you, clasping the hands. See if you can try to squeeze through the shoulder blades. Inhale and lift up through the chest. And then as you exhale, hinging forwards, letting the crown of the head release to the floor. Hands are stretching up towards the ceiling. Maybe bringing the palms together if that's available to you. Taking a few breaths here. And then as you exhale, releasing the hands, just letting them slide down the outside of the legs, coming maybe down to the ankles, or maybe to the outside edges of the feet. Again, keeping the neck nice and soft. And then walking the hands over towards your right foot. We're going to take the left hand to the outside of the calf, and then inhale the right arm up towards the ceiling, and then bending it all the way around the back. So the back of the hand releases towards the left hip. So into a twist here. Steady breathing. And then as you exhale, slowly release yourself back to the center. And then walking the hands over towards the left ankle, hand to the outside of the calf. Inhale, the left arm up, and then rotating it around so the back of the hand comes to rest onto that right hip. Taking a few breaths here. And then exhaling as you release back to the center. And then walk the hands out in front of you. We're going to come into a wide-legged down dog, so palms the hands flat to the floor. Inhale, coming up onto the toes. And as you exhale, release the heels down to the mat, letting the head drop between the elbows. Make sure the feet are positioned so your toes are slightly turned in, so your feet don't go sliding out on the mat. Taking a few breaths here. And then walk the hands back in towards the center. And then adjust your heels now so the toes are pointing out to about 45 degrees. We're going to come up to a goddess squat. So the knees are aiming towards the second toes, really, coming up to feel this strength through the thighs, and then maybe bringing the arms in as well into this cactus arms, feeling that strength through the thighs. And then as you inhale, straighten up the legs, releasing the arms, and just coming back into mountain pose. Good. Okay, so we're going to come down to the floor now. So just bringing yourselves down into butterfly pose, so however that's going to work for you. And we're going to come now into our softer poses. So maybe bringing in some cushions for support. And I'll set the timer going for these ones. We're going to hold for 3 minutes. So just letting the feet be soft here, letting the knees just rest onto a support, or if you've got very flexible hips, you may find the knees can come out all the way down to the floor. That's not the case for me, so I'm going to bring my cushions back in for support. So we'll start sitting upright for about the first minute or so. And then I'll give you the option to perhaps release into a forward fold here. So just giving the groin area a bit of time to release out. And then just perhaps, if it feels okay for the back, to come into this forward fold, so maybe just sliding the hands round to the toes, letting the elbows be soft. See how that feels for you. If that's putting too much strain on the lower back, then maybe coming back up into the more upright version of the pose. About another minute here, keeping your attention on your body, so noticing where perhaps there's any tension in the jaw, excuse me, or the shoulders, letting any tension release out. Another half a minute to go here. So coming to the end of the pose, just walking the hands back in towards you. And then we're going to release the legs out, taking those supports out of the way, and then take the feet out wide, settling yourself into a wide-legged pose here. So starting again in an upright position, so the hands are supporting behind you. If you can get the backs of the legs flat to the floor. So if you find there's a little bit of a bend in the knees, maybe just bring the feet in a little bit closer together. So just finding where is the right point for you. So it's not going to maybe look the same for everyone, and that's fine. We're all different. Just feeling that sensation in the legs, supporting the upper body with the arms. Again, as we come to the end of the first minute, we're going to bring the hands forwards, either onto the legs, see how that feels to the back again, or you might want to bring the hands even further forward, so you're coming into a gentle forward fold. Keeping softness in the ankles and the feet. Checking in with the body. If it feels more appropriate for you to stay with the hands resting behind, then that's a good option too. So the intention of this pose really is to open up this inner groin area. So wherever you are, if you're getting that sensation, then you're in the right place for you. And not doing any harm to any other part of your body. So if you have the hands forwards, just making sure that you've got a slight bend in the elbows, so you're not pressing down and bringing tension into the shoulders. One more minute here. The end of the pose, bring ourselves back upright, and just sliding the feet back in together, just resting the hands behind. A bit of a shake out here. Okay, then moving on to your tummy, so you need to turn yourselves lengthways on your mat. Have a cushion at the ready in front of you. But to begin with, we'll just come into a back bend of the Sphinx with the elbows underneath the shoulders, settling the pelvis down into the floor, so maybe taking your time to settle in here, little wiggle of the hips. Just finding the appropriate elbow position, so how deep you want the back bend to be. So the closer in your elbows are, the higher up the spine will be. If you take it out a little bit wider, then that will just release into a slightly lower curve through the back, less intense curve. So finding where feels right for you. And then just staying there, allowing spine just to release into this position. Maybe closing the eyes so you can really experience those sensations through the back. Noticing how the movement of your breath affects what's going on in the body. Halfway through the pose here. About half a minute or so to go. Coming to the end of the pose, just letting the elbows open out to the side, letting the head rest down into this relaxed position, cheek resting onto the mat. Okay, now working through the shoulders. We're going to bring the cushion into this one. So take your right arm out alongside the cushion and then slide the left arm underneath, letting the head rest down onto the cushion. We're just feeling the weight of the body pressing down through that lower shoulder. So keeping softness through the hand. Feeling the compression of the inner shoulder joint and the extension through the outside of the shoulder joint. Just about halfway through this pose. Half a minute more to go. So coming to the end of this pose, we're going to take that lower arm and just slide it all the way out and over to the opposite side. So taking the arm out perpendicular to your body and then rolling yourself over. I think it's your left hip because I think I've been telling you the opposite to what I'm doing. So roll over to the left hip and then the top arm's going to come over the back. And then either bending the elbow to rest the hand behind you, or perhaps you can reach the hands together to get that squeeze through the shoulder blades, making sure that the head is supported so the neck's into a neutral position here. So if that's too much for your shoulder, then you could adjust your lower arm just to come in alongside your back. That might be more appropriate for some. So just finding whatever's going to work best for you in the next couple of minutes. Keeping the lower body stable. Enabling stretch to develop through the front of the chest. About another minute here. Going towards the end of the pose here, we're going to release the hands and just slowly rolling back onto your tummy. And then let's move the cushion out of the way, resting, interlink the fingers, rest the forehead down onto the fingers, letting the shoulders release out to the side. The elbows release out to the side, the shoulders are just going to readjust from that compression that we've been experiencing. Allow the synovial fluid to come back into the joints, keeping it healthy. And then that little routine is repeated on the other side. So opposite hand coming out alongside the cushion. So probably your left arm and then the right arm sliding underneath. Bringing the cushion in to support the head. Settling the hips to the floor. Finding the pressure through the lower shoulder. The top arm is really just there for stability. We're not aiming to do anything with the outstretched arm. And just giving it time for that release through the shoulder to take place. About another minute remaining here. So it's the end of the pose. We're going to slide the lower arm, extending it out to the opposite side, and then rolling over onto that hip, which I think will be your right hip, and then just keeping the top leg bent to support the lower body behind, and then the top arm comes over the back, squeezing through the shoulder blades. And then either bending the elbow to let the hand rest behind the back, or perhaps reaching the hands together. Find that squeeze in the shoulder blades. Making sure the head's nicely supported here, neck into a neutral position. And again, just give it a bit of time. Allow the body to release connective tissue, just minutely opening up. It's a very subtle release. And there's about another minute remaining. And coming towards the end of the pose, releasing the hands, slowly rolling back onto your tummy. And again, we're just going to adjust, cushion out the way, interlink the fingers, letting the forehead rest down onto the fingers. Elbows out to the side. Feeling that flowing of energy and of fluid into the shoulder. And then just rolling yourselves over onto your back. You're going to come into a happy baby pose. So bringing the legs up, so your knees are going to come out towards the shoulders. The shins are pretty much parallel, not parallel, perpendicular to the floor. Maybe just holding on behind the legs. You can keep the shoulders and the elbows resting down. Or if you want to take it a bit deeper, you can reach the arms up, holding onto the ankles, or even holding the outside of the feet. So either of those options, keeping the back pretty much connected down into the floor. Just finding which of those feels best for you for the next couple of minutes. And then just feeling the weight of the thighs pressing down onto the outer edges of the abdomen. This is helping to stimulate the digestive system. Maybe hear my tummy rumbling just to demonstrate that point.
So with the feet elevated like this, we're allowing the blood circulation to just flow down the legs. So it's quite relaxing for the heart. About 1 more minute to go again. Just drawing the knees in together, letting the feet rest down, hugging the knees into your chest. Take a little bit of a rock from side to side. And then releasing the soles of the feet to the mat, letting the knees open out to the side. And again, you might want to bring in your cushions here for a bit of support as you rest the thighs onto the cushions, or if you have a bolster, you can maybe bring that under your knees. And then just let the hands rest onto the belly, so your thumbs are touching and your forefingers are touching, so you're creating a diamond type shape. Elbows resting onto the floor, softening through the neck, the jaw. Closing the eyes here, feeling the movement of the breath, rising up, and releasing down. And we're about halfway through the pose. Half a minute more to go. the end of this pose, we're going to just release the legs out. Moving those cushions out of the way. I'm going to finish up with a quick relaxation. At the end of it, I'm not going to bring you out of it. You can stay as long as you like. Just to warn you, but if you've got somewhere you need to go, you will have to bring yourself out of it. So bring your feet together, hands alongside your hips. We're going to start by squeezing in the toes and then letting them release. And then flexing through the feet and then let them release. And then tightening up through the calf muscles and let them release. And then pulling up the kneecaps, tightening the thighs and then let them release. And then squeezing in the buttocks and then let them release. And then tightening up through the abdomen and then release. And then tightening up through the rib cage and the chest. And then let it release. And then lifting up the shoulders towards the ears, squeezing them up. And then release. And then make the hands into a fist, tightening up through the hands and the arms. And then let them release. And then squeezing all the muscles of the face. And then letting them release. And then working all the way through the body. So tightening up the toes, the ankles, the calves, the thighs, the hips and the buttocks, squeezing through the legs, and then tightening up through the abdomen, chest, rib cage, squeezing the shoulders up to the ears, making the hands into a fist, squeezing it all in, making the muscles in the face scrunch up, squeezing everything in tight, and then just let it all release out. Letting the arms open out to the side, maybe opening the feet out a little bit wider. Coming into complete relaxation for as long as you need to be here. Connecting in with your breath. Connecting down to the earth below and sky above. The yin and the yang. When you're ready to move, you're welcome to stay in relaxation if you want. Let's start by making a few gentle movements of the feet and hands to wake the body up a little bit.